staffing shortages and delays reported at both Denver and Newark airports. In Burbank, California, there were no air traffic controllers for almost 6 hours last night. None. And airlines getting federal money to serve rural airports may soon be showing the first impact in the aviation industry from the shutdown when their funding runs out. Sunday, some 2 million federal workers, essential and non-essential, aren't getting paid. 750,000 of them sitting at home until the shutdown is over. The Senate will vote again today. It does not look like an end is coming anytime soon to this shutdown.
Well, let's see what more we can learn. Joining us now to look at the political ramifications of the shutdown and possible layoffs of federal workers, what that might mean, Republican strategist Alison Young, a former staffer in the George Bush White House. Good morning, Alison. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, guys. Nice to be with you.
Okay, so the question, what is it going to take for the general public to push for the pressure to end this? Dave was just saying, when we feel it at the airports, that's really kind of the line. Do you agree?
I think Dave's right. It's the issue for, for a number of Americans is they're not feeling it right now. If you're not a federal employee, if you're not in a big federal city where there are a lot of, then you're not feeling it. Airports are already the place where we're already ginned up and, our nerves are frayed. So I think when people, I think this is a winning message for the Democrats, honestly, to start saying, listen, if there's a problem at the airport, you can blame this on the Trump administration. It's not exactly an A to B causality there. I mean, the air traffic controller issue, they're starting to call out because they're not getting paid. Like it's a voluntary action, but I think we talked a little bit last week about, who's winning, who's more entrenched. I think this might be a place where, to your point, Dave, this is where, the public starts to raise a red flag.
Yeah, I mean, I always felt like this was the point when this started. This is the only point which, historically, we start to get concerned by government shutdown. That's unfortunate. Why do you say that gives Democrats some leverage? Because they, after all, could reopen government with a simple, clean CR.
Well, they absolutely could, it's really at the core of what the Democrats are saying. They're saying, look, we have, as Congress, we are trying to wrest back our power of the purse. This is, the Trump administration has really taken control of a lot of things using emergency powers, to do, and Congress is saying, look, we're trying to wrest this back, and we're going to dig in and we're going to fight. And what the Republicans are saying is, hey, we've got a bill out there. All we want to do is open the government. The Democrats are standing in front of it. What the Democrats have done, and they've historically been very good at, is finding those small messages, those things that they can pull out that really impact the general public. And in this case, it'll be airports and all of the federal employees in the Washington, D.C. area. And I live in Philadelphia, too. We have a big federal city here, too, not as big as D.C. But all the federal employees saying, hey, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? I can't afford food. I can't afford my electric bill. Not all civil servants are making six figures a year. So those that aren't and that are living paycheck to paycheck, this is going to start to have a major, major impact. And I think that's where the Democrats are better on the messaging.
That's very interesting to hear you say that, Alison, because we've spoken to some people who say they're doing the wrong message, actually. The Democrats are, as you know, are dug in on the subsidies, the healthcare subsidies that would allow people to continue to afford the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. Well, even if you're being particularly cynical, one political strategist has said, that is an issue that affects tons of red states. Why are Democrats defending all of these red states that would feel the pain first? Why don't they decide to say, no, this is about not sending troops into Democratic cities, or this is about the Epstein files, or something like that would actually hurt President Trump more in some ways?
Alison, like you're hitting at the crux of the issue. There are so many opportunities here for people to for either side to craft a narrative that fits their, that helps their base. And people just keep missing on this. I agree with you that the healthcare angle isn't a strong angle for the Democrats. And what it's doing is it's allowing the Trump administration to say, hey, this isn't about healthcare. This is just about getting the government open. Let's just provide the daily services that we have a duty to provide, and the Democrats are trying to heave this great big political football onto us. So it's funny. It's all, I think what you're pointing out is it's all in perception too. Like we can all spin this any way we want, but it's really an interesting daily task to look at to see what's hitting the American public and what's actually impacting how people are perceiving this.
Allison, don't you think that people in general are smart and they see that the finger pointing is doing nothing, that both sides are trying to, look like the victor and the other the villain here? But in the reality, their job is to get this through, to get our country moving and growing and hopefully finding solutions. Don't you think people across the board see what's going on here in that sense and they just say, get it done?
Thank you for saying that. I can't agree with you more. This comes up every campaign season that generally political strategists, people that work in the media perhaps, and candidates tend to underestimate the American public. And I thank you for saying that, because I do think that that's real out there, that people understand that this is posturing. There's just a lot of nonsense and people behaving like blowhards from both sides. The challenge that we have right now is that in previous administrations and previous Congresses, I've worked in both places, there has been a different bar, a higher bar for compromise and behavior, decorum perhaps, and that's not happening now. So what's happening is we're at this point where, yes, the general public is like, come on, this is ridiculous. People don't behave like this. But there's these fringe factions on the far right and the far left that are saying, dig in, go harder, be meaner. And we're in this echo. I think we're in this echo chamber right now where the general public is saying, look, we just want to live our lives and be left alone for the most part. And what's going on in DC is getting out of control.
Behind it, as we wrap this up, is the last 20 years, you see fewer and fewer moderates. So there are very few in the Senate or the House in the middle. And so that's what pulls these two sides to their extremes. Right now, the betting markets have it at 20 days.
Checking the betting markets.
20-day shutdown is the over-under. Looks like we're going to dig in. Great to have you here. Appreciate your insights this morning.
Thank you, Allison.
Thanks so much, Allison.